in support of evidence-based maternity care by your outstanding organizations. For over a decade, the Coalition for Improving Maternity Services has been devoted to promoting a wellness model of maternity care through the Mother-Friendly Childbirth Initiative, and I applaud you for your dedication to this effort. I also commend the Association for Holistic Maternal and Newborn Health for your work in teaching community health professionals about the holistic, evidence-based approach to maternity care. The Breastfeeding Task Force of Los Angeles is also to be commended for its commitment to advancing the baby-friendly hospital initiative. Lastly, and certainly not least, I congratulate the California Community Foundation for recognizing the importance of educating nurses in mother-baby-friendly maternity care through your funding of this critical initiative. It may be as small as you stated earlier, but believe me, it is a huge, huge contribution towards the goal that we are all hoping to achieve. All of you can take a great deal of pride in the fact that your collective grassroots efforts to defend holistic, evidence-based childbirth are creating a much-needed shield against the medicalization of maternity care. What your organizations are accomplishing in Los Angeles and in communities across the nation serves as an inspiration to me in my legislative work. We are here because we know that there is something very wrong with our maternity care system. You've all experienced what is wrong with that system. In the United States, the cost of maternity care for mother and child is more than double that of any country in the world. And despite the exorbitant amount of money that we spend, the U.S. ranks far behind nearly all developed countries in maternal and infant outcomes. And through your experiences working on the front lines of healthcare, you know that childbirth has significant risks for mothers and babies, especially in communities of color. While it is true that many factors contribute to poor outcomes and high costs, the most disturbing fact by far is that there is a vast body of knowledge regarding best evidence-based maternity care that is being ignored, and current U.S. practice is not following the research. As a result, there remains widespread overuse of maternity procedures, including cesarean sections and scheduled inductions, which credible evidence tells us are beneficial only in limited situations. Outside of these limited circumstances, these practices often result in longer maternity hospital stays and multiple costly procedures that also contribute to the fact that mother and infant childbirth care is our nation's most costly hospital and Medicaid expenditure. In recent news, even the commonly accepted wisdom that cesarean birth is safer for premature infants is being challenged by a new study presented at the annual meeting of the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. This research documented that vulnerable premature infants delivered by C-section compared to those born vaginally have a higher risk of respiratory problems and other complications. This just adds to the reality that we have to learn to respect Mother Nature a little bit more. As many of you know, I have had the benefit and the privilege of having Debbie Jessup, a nurse midwife, as my health legislative assistant for the last 7 years. Debbie is the one who opened my eyes to the frightening and unnecessary state of our nation's maternity care system. And she is the one who taught me about the underuse of multiple, effective, non-invasive maternity practices, such as smoking cessation programs in pregnancy, group model prenatal care, and non-supplying physicians for birth. It is so hard for me as a layperson, and I'm sure even for you as professionals in your field, to understand why practices which produce considerable improvement in outcomes with no detrimental side effects are not routinely used in this country, because our mothers and our babies deserve better. And because they deserve better, the best care possible should be theirs. I have been working with Debbie's and really benefiting from her experience and expertise in women's health. In order to prepare a bill that I introduced last year, it is legislation which is intended to shine a national spotlight on the importance of evidence-based maternity care. The bill is known as H.R. 2141, the Maximizing Optimal Maternity Services, or in short, the Moms for the 21st Century Act. This bill will help create a national focus on this issue by establishing an interagency coordinating committee to promote optimal maternity outcomes. The bill also authorizes an extensive media campaign to educate consumers on what is scientifically known to achieve the healthiest maternity outcomes. The bill also expands federal research on best maternity practices, and it directs the collection of data on maternity shortage areas. If passed into law, the MOMS Act will facilitate the development of a more interdisciplinary maternity care workforce. In addition to developing core curricula across maternity professional disciplines, it encourages providers to practice in underserved areas by establishing loan repayment programs for those who commit to work in maternity shortage areas. Finally, the Moms for the 21st Century Act will support the education of a more culturally and linguistically diverse workforce by authorizing grant programs for maternity professional organizations to recruit and retain minority providers. Because the goal of healthy moms and healthy babies should be something that every legislator should agree on. I was hoping that when I introduced the bill, that it would be a bipartisan effort. But my efforts to make the MOMS Act a bipartisan bill, I am very disappointed to report, have not been successful. After 6 months of talking with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I have not been able to find one Republican to help champion this effort. The disappointment and the frustration that I feel gives me a much better understanding of how you must feel every single day in your grassroots efforts to promote holistic, evidence-based maternity care. But there are some bright spots, and as was mentioned earlier, one is from the Department of Health and Human Services that I would like to share with you once again. 2 weeks ago, Secretary Sebelius announced a new Strong Start initiative to reduce preterm birth and improve outcomes for newborns and pregnant women. Under this initiative, the CMS Innovation Center will offer competitive grants to test different